Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Welcome to this algebra webinar. I am Atreya and I would be your primary host for today's session. With me supporting is Harsha, and we both are GMAT experts here at e-GMAT, and Harsha would be the co-host for today's session. Now, before I begin anything else, I would like to understand if you can hear me clearly. So if you can you please mark a yes in the poll? Okay, that is perfect. So let me hide the poll. Thank you for all of your responses. And let me clear all the answers over here, hide it out. And let's begin the session. So today we are going to solve some very interesting questions based out of algebra, from quadratic inequalities, absolute equations, absolute inequalities, and then obviously linear inequalities into variables. Now, since it's a very application-oriented webinar, we had already sent you out some content for your review so that you can prepare yourself for this session. And I hope all of you have already gone through those videos. In case you have not gone through them, I would recommend all of you to go through them after the session is done. They'll really be very, very helpful for all of you. And I'm very sure that you would gain a lot of insights from those videos, and you'll also learn a lot from them. So with that, let me hide out this poll and let's talk about the next set of sessions. Now, we at e-GMAT, conduct sessions every weekend, both on Saturdays and on Sundays. The next Sunday, which is again, so there's slightly a bit difference over here because Christmas and New Year is coming up. So that's the reason we do not have any session the next weekend. We'll be resuming sessions from the 2nd of January. 2nd of January, that is Sunday, we have a GMAT strategy webinar. And in this webinar, Rajat would help you understand how to make sure that you create your personalized study plan and what metrics do you need to track to make sure you are very, very close to your actual GMAT prep, and you do whatever you have to do to reach your target score. To register for that webinar, simply click on the yellow CTA button that you can see register now over here, and that'll take you to the registration page where you can simply register for the webinar. The next week, that is on Sunday, January 8th, we have a session on GMAT sentence correction. And in this webinar, we help you understand how to learn and use the meaning-based approach to solve difficult level sentence correction questions under very, very quick time, right? So we help you understand how to solve questions under 90 seconds. And if you are someone who's not that strong in sentence correction, starting off their prep, or if your score has plateaued in SE, simply attend the webinar. I'm very, very sure that this would be very beneficial for all of you. Again, to register for the same, simply click on the register now button. That will help you get registered for that session. And with that, let me hide out this spot over here as well. So I specifically have 2-3 questions before I move ahead to the presentation screen. The first question being, when are you taking your GMAT? When are you planning to take your GMAT? Please put your answer in the poll, and let me get you the next 2 questions as well. Just allow me one moment, please. Okay, the next question that I have for all of you is, what is your current quant score? And then, what is your target quant score? Let's get the answers for that as well. Perfect. So what I can see over here is a lot of you are targeting a Q50 or a Q51 or a Q49, and that's very, very motivating. You should be targeting those scores for a very high GMAT score, right? If you're targeting the round 2 deadlines. And also a lot of you in your current quant score have put, majority I would say, have put below Q40 or lesser than Q40. So whether you belong to that below Q30 category, or you belong to that Q46 to that 48 category. I'm very sure after today's session, your ability into comprehending and solving GMAT algebra questions would be much, much more better than what it used to be. Right, so with that, let me go to the presentation screen, and I hope it loads up within another 5 seconds for all of you. Until that point in time, let me also very quickly get you to very interesting polls that we would be using in today's session. Just allow me one moment. Right. So on the right hand side of your screen, what you can see is a chat pod. And this pod would be used to converse throughout the entire session. You also can see a question and answer pod at the bottom of your screen. And when we are solving questions, if you have any doubt, any concern, please put your question in the Q&A pod where either me or Harsha would take care of your doubts. The other thing is I don't want any of you to write down your answers in the chat pod because that's visible to everyone. And if you put your answers in the chat pod, it influences others' answers. So that's the reason I'll be giving you question specific polls, and I want you to answer in the question specific poll that I would be shooting. I don't want any of you to put your answers in the chat pod. I hope that's perfectly clear. So let's get everyone to write a hi in the chat pod so that I know that all of you are able to see it and also are able to use it. Perfect. That is very good. Somesh has a question. Do you think it's going to be helpful for a person who's finished the algebra module? I would say yes, definitely, because we'll be solving a few questions. But if you've finished algebra and if you're past cementing, it's the work is already done, in my opinion, Somesh. So not a lot of work remains post that. Right? Perfect. So let's get started. Let me, take the pen very quickly, and let's not go with black. Let's go with, let's say, a shade of red. That sounds better, right? Let me hide the palette. All right, we are good to go. So let's move on to the agenda. The agenda for this session is very simple. We'll first, in the first 15 minutes, I'll try to give you some idea about your conceptual level that you have currently, and then the next 1 hour or so we'll be solving a few questions to understand how to use process skills into solving algebra questions, and that information can also be taken forward to any part of quant, to GMAT quant, and then the last 1 hour will be solving some really good and challenging questions which are of the level of 700 or above. Right. So let's get started with the first question. I have 7 warm-up questions with for all of you. Once we answer all these 7 questions, I'll give you feedback on your current conceptual knowledge. Now, for those of you who are attending any of my sessions for the first time, what I want all of you to do is mark a still solving in the poll that you can see on your screen. Now, why do you need to do that? Because I don't time yourselves, right? So essentially, when 80% who have marked a still solving select a different answer choice apart from this, that's when I call time. So the average speed of the class is the time that we are going to follow for this session, right? I only have 15 still solvings. Guys, you need to be much, much more, I would say, interactive to learn and take a lot from this session. So let's get to at least a 30 still solvings because I see quite a few people in the session. And the faster you mark a still solving, the faster you get the question, right? And this is one of the few rules that we have in our sessions. So let's get to that number of 30 very quickly. I only have 24. There are still people who have not marked a still solving. Let's do that very quickly so that I can get you the first question. 26, 26 again. Okay, 27. I need 3 more people. I'm at 28 now. I need 2 more. Come on, guys, let's do this very quickly. I've not even given the question. Please do not mark A or B or C. I've not given the question. So please do not mark A or B or C. All right, let's go to the first question. All the best for this one. All right, last 2 seconds to mark the answer. If you've not marked it, please do so. Last 2 seconds. 2, 1, and 0. I'm not going to broadcast the results right now. Uh, Please note it down in your notebooks of which answer have you marked for this question, because I would be giving you feedback on all of this, right? So I want you to write numbers 1 to 7 in your notebook and the answers that you're marking along with it, right? The answer choices, right? Cool. So with that, let me get you the poll for the second question. The process remains the same. You mark a still solving, and then I give you the second question the moment I have 30 people in the still solving zone. I only have 16, and let's do this very quickly to get to the second question, guys, please. Let's not waste time. All right, question number 2 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, the last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. And please do not mark your answer in the chat pod. This is a request from all of you, for all of you, primarily because I don't want any of the answers to go to be influenced. That's the reason we have created separate polls for all of you, right? So please, let's not use the chat pod, or else I might have to close it while you answer. Okay, the last 3 seconds to mark the answer. Please do so if you have not done it yet. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay, I am going to end the poll again. The same process continues. Please mark what you have answered for this question in your notebook, and I will be giving you the third poll for the third question. So let me very quickly get you the third poll. This is the poll for question number 3, and I'll reopen it. Please mark as still solving. Perfect. Question number 3 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not done it, please do so. 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to end the poll. And again, the process remains the same. I hope all of you have written down on your notebook on which option did you mark for this question. So with that, let me get you the poll for the fourth question. Here's the poll for the fourth question. Kindly mark as still solving. Let me get that for you. All right. Question number 4 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not done it, please do so. 2, 1, and 0. I'm going to end the poll. And thank you for answering. Let's get the poll for the fifth question. I hope all of you can see the poll. Kindly mark as still solving. All right, this is question number 5 for all of you. All the best. All right, the last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not marked it, please do so. All right. I'm going to end the poll and I hope you've marked the answer, what you've marked over here in the notepad as well, because we are going to need it, right? So that there goes question 5. Let me get to the poll for question number 6. Here is the poll for question number 6. We follow the same methodology. Kindly mark a still solving and let me get that question for all of you. All right. Question number 6 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, the last 3 seconds to mark the answer for this question. And we go to question number 7. 2, 1, and 0. With that, I'm gonna end the poll and we'll move on to question number 7. I hope all of you can see the poll for question number 7. Kindly mark as still solving. And do not worry, by the way, we are going to solve each of these 7 questions in just a moment's time after I give you feedback on your conceptual knowledge, right? So no worries on that part. All right, question 7 on your screen. All the best for this one. Right, the last 2 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not marked it yet, please do so. And 0. Let me end the poll. And I hope you have marked the answer in your notebook as well, because we will be requiring it. So with that note, let me expand the chartboard. And you people tell me, how were these 7 questions? Were they easy, difficult, medium, very easy? Easy questions, right? Yes, absolutely correct. These are, very easy questions, to be very honest. And you'd be getting much more difficult questions in your actual exam. So why did we do these questions? Very simple, to just set that base for today's session for all of you, because the applications that we would be learning from these 7 questions would be used for the next set of questions that we would be solving in today's session, right? That is very good. So with that, and I hope all of you have already all of you have already marked the answers in your notebook, so we would be using that information as well, right? So let's get started with that part. Okay, so let's talk about your feedback on your current conceptual understanding. The first 3 questions, the answer for the first question was choice B, the second was choice B, and the third was choice C. I hope all of you have checked it out and made a note. Please compare this with the answers that you have put. Now, if one or more incorrect questions, if you have one or more incorrect questions out of these 3, then there are some major conceptual gaps that you need to patch up. And if you do not patch them up, it is going to be difficult to solve questions in linear inequalities, right? Yes, for the next 2 questions which were based out of quadratic inequalities. The first question, the answer to that was choice C. The second question, again, the answer to that was choice C once more. So both the answers for quadratic inequalities had their answer choices to be C, and I hope all of you got these correct. But if you did not get both of these correct, so it clearly means that you have some issues pertaining to quadratic inequalities. Then we had 2 questions on absolute values as well, right? The answer for the first absolute value question is choice C. The answer for the second absolute value question was again choice C, right? So for these 2 questions as well, the answers were choice C. And I hope you've gotten these questions correct. In case you have not, again, the same process. There are some gaps that need to be patched up. But before I help you understand how do you patch up those gaps, I want all of you to essentially tell me how many of these 7 questions did you think you will get correct and actually did so? So let's get your answers in the poll that I have put in. Let's do that very quickly. All right. So let me broadcast the results for this poll. And what I can see over here is almost 30% of you tell me that you've gotten fewer questions correct. That essentially tells me that that you thought you would get some questions correct, but you did not get them correct, right? So there are these gaps, and you're not able to understand these gaps. That needs to be worked upon, and only then your quant score would improve. Right now, in this session, essentially it's just a 2-hour session, right? And we can only cover some part of it. If you go through our Quant 2.0 trial, you have diagnostic quizzes, you have concept files based, basis your score in diagnostic quizzes, which would pop up, and the course content would ask you to do these files. So it's completely an adaptive course that we have in Quant, and I want all of you to go through the course once. If you have any problems, any concerns in areas of linear inequalities, quadratic inequalities, and absolute values, and just follow the feedback that the course gives you. It's an adaptive course. You only learn what you need to learn. You don't have to spend a lot of time into knowing something or learning something that you already are aware of, right? So with that, we would now look at the answers for these 7 questions, and let's do them very, very quickly. In case you've gotten any question, do let me know as well. The first question, I had to find out the range of y. Now, if I have to find out the range of one variable from an inequality, the best way to do it is to put like-looking terms to one side of the inequality, right? So I have 4y and minus y. So what I do is I bring minus y to the left-hand side of this inequality and take 10 to the right-hand side of this inequality. After doing so, I get 5y to be greater than minus 10. Or if I divide both these sides of this inequality with 5, I get y to be greater than minus 2. That is choice B for our question. Right? Question number 2. I need to find out the value of y. Now, if I need to find out the value of y and I have two variables x and y, I have to eliminate something, right? I have to eliminate the other variable that's there in the question. In this question, that other variable is x. So I need to eliminate x. So what are the different ways of elimination? Very simple. You see that there's a minus 2x over here. There's a plus x in the first inequality. So what you do is you multiply the first inequality with 2. Why? Because since you have a minus 2x, you can cancel this minus 2x with a positive 2x. And to convert this x into a positive 2x, you have to multiply it by 2. Right? So you multiply the first inequality with 2, and then you add both these inequalities. Now, one very important question. Can I add inequalities with different signs? You cannot. You can only add inequalities with the same sign. Right now, since in both these inequalities I had a greater than sign, I could simply add them up. If I add them up, my plus 2x would cancel off my negative 2x, and I have a y on the left hand side, a minus 6 plus 4, which is a minus 2 on the right hand side, which becomes choice B as my answer. So two very important pieces of information that I want all of you to keep in mind. A, whenever you have to find the value of one variable, you have to eliminate the second variable, and you can eliminate second variable by manipulating the expressions that you have in your question, and just keeping in mind that inequalities with the same sign can be added together. Three very, very important pieces of information to help you solve difficult sets of questions based out of the same concept. Okay, let's go to question number 3. Question number 3 is I need to find out the value of x. Again, if I have an inequality and there's only one variable in it, I'll go a little slower, no problem, Logan. So if you have one inequality and you have only one variable in it, what you need to do, as I told you, you need to put the like-looking terms in the in one side of the inequality, right? So you have a term with x, you have another term with coefficient of x. So you do what? You take the 48x to the left hand side, and then you take the constant term to the right hand side of this inequality. If you do so, what do you get? You get minus 32x to be greater than 64. Now I need to find out the value of x and not minus x, right? So what I do is I multiply this entire inequality, both the right and the left hand side, with minus 1. If I multiply both the sides of this inequality with minus 1, there's a very important concept related to it, and that is when you multiply an inequality with a negative number, the sign of the inequality would change. So as you can see over here, the sign of the inequality was a greater than sign. That would become a lesser than sign if you multiply with a negative number, as we did in this question, multiplied it with minus 1. So the sign now changes to a lesser than sign, and what do I have? I have 32x lesser than minus 64. If you divide both the sides of this inequality with 32, you get x to be less than minus 2. So any value of x is possible which is lesser than minus 2, which makes choice C the answer for this question. So a very important piece of information that we learn from this question is whenever you multiply an inequality with a negative number, the sign of that inequality needs to be changed. Right? So with that, let's move ahead to question number 4. This is where we start learning about quadratic equations. Now, before I start the solution for these two questions on quadratic equations, quadratic inequalities rather, were the first 3 solutions clear to all of you? The ones based out of linear inequalities. Were all the three solutions clear to all of you? Logan, if you have a question around, question 2, can you please put that in the Q&A pod? Harsha would help you answer that question, no problems. Why did we change the sign in Q3? As I told you, when we multiply a negative number with the inequality, the sign of the inequality needs to be changed. Right? You can take an example to see it. For example, if I tell you that x is greater than 5, let's think of a number which is greater than 5, for example, 6. 6 is definitely greater than 5, right? If I multiply both the sides of this inequality with -1, and if I say that minus x is greater than -5, would I be true? Not at all. Will -6 be greater than -5? Not at all, right? So that is the reason we have to change the sign over here. I hope that is now clear to you. Perfect. Let's now discuss question number 4. Now in question number 4, I have been given two expressions, and the product of these two expressions is a positive number. It's given to be greater than 0. So it's a positive number. Now I want you people to tell me when is a product of two numbers positive in nature? Please put your answers in the chat pod. When do you think would a product of two numbers be positive in nature? When they have the same sign, right? Absolutely correct. When either both of them are positive or both of them are negative. That's absolutely correct. So if both of them are positive in nature, that essentially tells me that both x minus 2 and x minus 3 is greater than 0. So for that, if x minus 2 is greater than 0, x has to be greater than 2. If x minus 3 is greater than 0, x has to be greater than 3. If you combine both of these, and how do you combine? You just need to draw a number line. This is, let's say, 2. This is, let's say, 3. The first inequality tells you that x needs to be all numbers that's greater than 2. X needs to be everything that's greater than 3. So the common region is x being greater than 3, right? If x is equal to 0, this would become a negative number. This also would become a negative number, giving you the value to be positive here, right? So we'll be discussing over here that case, right? Okay. So that's about the first part. The second part is when both of these numbers are negative in nature. If both of these numbers are negative, x minus 2 is negative, that essentially tells me that x has to be less than 2. If x minus 3 is negative, it tells me that x has to be less than 3. Again, we'll do the same thing. We'll draw the number line. Let's say this is 2, this is 3. So the first part of this expression tells me that I have to take all numbers which are lesser than 2. The second part tells me all numbers which are lesser than 3. The common region is this region which is all numbers lesser than 2. So at the end, since both of these can be the answers, both of these would be the part of the answer. So anything that's lesser than 2 or anything that's greater than 3 is my final answer, making the answer for this question as choice C. Right? So this is one way to do this question. Now there's a much better approach to solve the same question, which we call as the wavy line method. Now what does the wavy line method help us learn, and how do the questions become easy using the wavy line method? Let's understand that. Now let's consider the same inequality. The first thing that I want all of you to calculate are the 0 points. Now, what are 0 points? 0 points are the values of the variable when the expression, just this individual expression, would be equal to 0. So at what value of x would x minus 2 be equal to 0? When x is equal to 2. At what value of x would x minus 3 be equal to 0? It would be x is equal to 3, right? The next part is to draw the number line and mark both these points, right? So you mark 2 and you mark 3. The next part of the solution is when you mark these 2 points, take any region. There are 3 regions that are formed on the number line, right? So anything that's greater than 3, the region of the region between 2 and 3, and the region which is less than 3, right? Now take any region that you want let's take the region where x has to be greater than 3. Now, let's take any number where x is greater than 3, for example. If x is greater than 3, x minus 2 would become positive, x minus 3 would also become positive. So this zone gives me a positive result. Is that something that my question is asking? Yes, it is. So this would be a part of my answer. Once you figure this out, you'd need to take a pause. Once you pause, the wavy line technique is a fantastic method. And why do I say so? Because I told you it makes your calculations very easy. It's a wavy line that essentially tells you that the regions that you would be getting in these in this number series or number line would be alternate in nature. So if the first region is a positive region, the second region has to be a negative region. The third region has to be positive. Had there been a fourth, it would have been negative, and so on. So the regions are alternating in nature. I need to choose the region which is suggested in my question, right? So in this question, I need to find out the area where my answer is greater than 0, right? That's the reason I'll take only the first one and the third one to be the parts of this answer and mark choice C. Let me explain this once more very quickly. So let's say you have a wavy line, and in this you have 3 points, right? This is your region 1, this is your region 2, your region 3, and region 4. In case the same question comes, or let's say with another variable, and you need to find out greater than 0 points, let's say the first point is a negative region, the second obviously would then become a positive, the third negative, the fourth positive. You only need to take the positive regions and you can expend the negative regions. These are not to be put in the answer. This is a very effective method to solve quadratic inequalities. Yes, SK, this method is only to be used in solving quadratic inequalities and not any other question, right? I would also share a detailed note on how to use the quadratic equation, how to solve quadratic equation questions using the wavy line method, and then that would help you understand how to that'll help you understand the method more easily. We have a link on GMAT Club. I've just posted it on the on the screen. I hope all of you can see it. Just save that link for now, and once you save it out, once the session is done, you can take a look at that, and I'm very sure it would be very clear to all of you, right? Okay, if is x is equal to 0 not a part of the range? Now you need to understand two things. X is equal to 0 falls in this part, right? So it's already included in the range J, right? Yes, so please take a note. No problems. All right, so with that, I hope you have saved the link and you would view that article after the session is done. We'll move ahead with the next question, which is question number 5. Now, question number 5 is again a very similar question, but a bit more involved one. It's obviously a better question than question number 4, primarily because here we're not dealing with a normal inequality. We have a fraction. And the point with fraction is it's a bit more complex, right? The students find it a bit more complex, and then that's the reason the accuracy for these kind of questions drop. Now, in this question, we have a fraction, and we need to find out when is the value of this fraction 0, and I need to find out the range for x for this part, right? The first thing is I don't know how to calculate for a fraction, right? If you let's say go on with the last methodology of taking the numerator to be positive, denominator to be negative, or numerator to be negative, denominator to be positive, it'll lead to a lot of cases. So we don't want to get into those many cases. We want to use a better method to solve this question. The first thing is, can I multiply both the sides of this inequality just with x plus 4? I cannot, because x plus 4 can be negative as well. And in that case, my sign of the inequality will change. Now, why was I trying to multiply this expression with x plus 4? Only to make sure that I do not have any denominator for which the complexity of this question would decrease. But I cannot do that. So I need to think little bit more, and then I see that if I multiply both the sides with x plus 4 whole square, which is a perfect square, and I know that perfect squares can never be negative. If perfect squares can never be negative, I don't have any problems in the sign change, right? I don't have to take a note of it. So if I multiply with x plus 4 to both these signs, both these sides of this inequality, at the right hand side I don't have anything because I'm multiplying x plus 4 whole square with 0. That essentially results in x plus 4 whole that essentially results in a 0 itself. In the right hand side, I have x plus 4 whole square times x plus 3. In the denominator, I also have an x plus 4. So I do what? I cancel out one of the x plus 4 from the numerator and the denominator, and I'm left with a similar question that we had in question number 4. What do? We use the method of wavy line. So I need to find out the 0 points. When do x plus 4 be equal to 0? At minus 4. When is x plus 3, x minus 3 equal to 0? At plus 3. I have 3 regions, one from plus 3 to infinity, the other from minus 4 to 3, the other from minus infinity to minus 4. Now what do? I take one region. Let's take only one region. For example, x is greater than 3. If x is greater than 3, this is a positive number, this is a positive number. Can I take a positive region? No, I cannot, because my answer tells me, the question tells me to take a negative region. If the question asks me to take a negative region, the first and the third areas or regions are not to be considered in my answer. Only the second region can be my answer, which is choice C. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. This is slightly more convoluted, slightly more complex, and I hope all of you are clear with the solution. If you have any question, please feel free to ask it. I'll help you out with that. But yes, to reach at this method, and to solve the question through this method, you have to make sure that you know the wavy line technique. Go through the article that I shared. Why we cannot use wavy line directly in this question? Because again, it's not a linear inequality, right? It's not a quadratic inequality in its linear form, right? I have a fraction in this question. That's the reason we cannot do it. The answer might be same for this question, Arushi, but would not be same for all set of questions that we have, right? How do we know which region to take? Very interesting. So it completely depends upon the question. In this question, we had to take the regions which are lesser than 0. So only the negative regions are to be taken. Had the question told us greater than 0, so we would have taken the first and the third region, Logan, right? So that's how we essentially understand which are the regions that we need to put in the answer, which are the ones that we do not, right? I hope that answers your question. Perfect. So with that, let me move ahead with the next question, which is question number 6. A very interesting question on absolute values. Now, even before I solve this question, and let me go to the previous screen or your attention would be diluted. Are the solutions to questions 4 and 5 perfectly clear to all of you? Is the methodology of wavy line completely clear to all of you? Please let me know in the chat pod. Are the solutions for question number 4 and 5 perfectly clear? Okay, that is very good. Let's move ahead to question number 6, the solution for this question. Now, this is actually an absolute value question, right? And what do I have? I have modulus of x plus 3 is less than equal to 5. I need to find out the range for x. Now, if you have modulus of x plus 3 to be less than equal to 5, the first thing that I want you to do is substitute this number with a variable. So substitute x plus 3 with z. Now you can say that z is less than equal to 5. If z is lesser than equal to 5, then the value of z can be between minus 5 and plus 5. And then when you have this, replace z with x plus 3 once more. So x plus 3 would be from minus 5 to plus 5. subtract 3 from both the sides of this inequality, or I should rather say 3 sides of this inequality. You get a minus 8 in the left hand side, x in the middle, 2 in the right hand side, essentially being the answer for this question, C being the answer for this question. Very easy, not a that difficult question, but there are lots of things to learn from this one. Now, what are the things that I want you people to focus on for this question? Two very, very important pieces or methodologies to solve this question, or at least visualize for this question. First of all, tell me something. If you are, for example, standing at a coordinate which is -5 and your friend is standing at a coordinate of +5, what is the distance between you, both of you? What do you think would be the distance between the two of you? If you are standing, let's say, at -5, your friend is standing at +5, it's equal to 10, right? Absolutely correct. Now, why is it equal to 10? Can you give me the reasoning for that? You just calculate the difference between the two coordinates, right? You calculate the difference between the two coordinates, correct? Is that what you're doing? Right, so Shubhi, you are calculating the difference, right? The distance. Yes, the distance is absolute. That's the reason you're calculating the difference. Absolutely correct. We'll be using the same methodology into understanding absolute value questions. How? Now, let's solve this question with the methodology of distance by visualizing distance. Now, when you calculate the distance between you and your friend, you subtract the coordinates, right? For this part, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be keeping one of your friends at point X and you at the other coordinate. Now, when you keep your friend at point X, you have to subtract some coordinate to find out the distance. According to the question, what is that number that you need to subtract from X to get X plus 3? It's -3. Only if you subtract -3 from X, you get X plus 3, right? So that tells you that your friend is standing at point X, you are standing at -3. So you are standing at -3, your friend is standing at point X. You do not know in which range can he stand, but you know that the distance between you and your friend can either be 5 units or less than 5 units. You then start to think, what are the region points that I'm talking about when I'm talking about -3 at a distance of 5 units, right? At max, you can go to a -8, cannot go beyond that to the left hand side. At max, you can go to a +2, you cannot go beyond that because that would exceed 5 units distance. So then you start thinking, all right, if my friend has to be within that distance of 5 units or lesser, he or she has to be from -8 to +2 if I am standing at -3, right? And that is your answer. So this is how you translate an absolute value question into distance and then solve out the question. Please tell me if the approach is perfectly clear to all of you or not. If the method of distance is perfectly clear to all of you or not. Perfect. So let me give you one question very, very quickly. If your friend stands at X and the inequality is given as X minus 5 to be greater than 6, for example, 3 things very, very quickly. Where are you standing? What is your coordinate? In the chat pod, what is your coordinate? Your friend is standing at X. What is your coordinate? If X minus 5 is given in the question, your coordinate has to be 5, right? Because what I told you, you calculate the difference. So what do you need to subtract from S to get -5? You just need to subtract a +5 from it. So you are standing at +5, your friend is standing at X. Okay, what is the distance between you and your friend? What is the distance between you and your friend? Is it lesser than 6 units? Is it equal to 6 units? Or is it greater than equal to 6 units? Is it lesser, equal, or greater than equal? In the chat pod, please, very quickly. It's greater than equal to 6 units, right? Absolutely correct. So can your friend stand at point 10 by any chance? Can your friend stand at a coordinate of 10 by any chance? No, you cannot. Your friend needs to stay at least 6 units apart from point 5, right? So that's 11 or higher than that, right? So you cannot stay at point 10, right? This is how I want you people to think on absolute values, and it'll get easy for all of you once you start solving a few more questions on this, right? So that's question 6 for all of you. Let's move on to question number 7, but before that, are the instructions and the solutions for this question perfectly clear? Okay, that is very good. Though I'm having very less number of people answering to my questions, I hope the participation would increase once we do some more questions, right? Okay, so question number 7, what do I have over here? What can be inferred from modulus of p minus q to be equal to a minus b? Now, I know that if the mod value of x is equal to y, since I have a modulus on the left hand side of this equation, y can never ever be a negative number, right? It can never ever be a negative number. It can either be a 0 or a positive number. Essentially, it has to be a non-negative number. So over here as well, if if the left hand side is a is is inside a modular sign, the right hand side has to be a non-negative number. If it's a non-negative number, it either has to be equal to 0 or greater than 0. That tells you that a has to be greater than or equal to b, which is choice C for this question. Right? Is the solution clear to all of you? Can I move ahead with the next set of questions? Again, these were easy questions. Mind you, we did not have a lot difficulty in solving them. The next set of questions is where you might feel a little bit of the heat. Okay, I see that all of you are ready for the next set of questions. So let me get you the poll for the first one. Just allow me one moment. Okay, the poll for the first question is visible to all of you, I presume. Let me reopen it in 1 second. Please mark as still solving. Do we have more number line questions? We will be having more questions, Arushi. Do not worry. All right, question number 1 of process skills on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, the last 5 seconds that I give you for this question. Please mark your answer if you have not done it yet. 3, 2, 1, and 0. I'm going to end the poll and broadcast the results. Now, 50% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice C. The second answer choice, the second most popular, I would say, is choice B. All right, let's get into this question and solve it out. Now, how many non-negative integral values of m do the two given inequalities satisfy? I have plus 4m minus n plus 5. I have n plus 5 greater than 0. I need to find out the value of m. So what am I trying to eliminate in this question? If I am to find the value of m, what am I eliminating? Because I have two variables, right? I'm eliminating n, absolutely correct. So I take a look at n, I see a minus n, I see a positive n. So I know if I can add these both inequalities up, I can get to my final answer. So what I do is I need to essentially add these inequalities. But before that, you need to tell me after reading the question, which all values can m take based on these 4 choices? You people tell me it's choice 3 and not choice 2, which I'm very happy about. So let's get into the question and add these inequalities up. If I add both of these inequalities, what do I get? I get minus 4m to be greater than minus 10. And what do I do now? I need to find out the value of m and not minus m. So what do? I multiply this entire inequality. By that I mean both the sides by minus 1. And I know that if I have to multiply both the inequalities with a negative number, the sign of the inequality needs to change. If the sign needs to change, the greater than sign would become a negative. The greater than sign would become a lesser than sign. I would have plus 4m to be less than minus 10. If plus 4m is less than 10, divide both the sides with 4, you get m to be less than 10 by 4, or m is lesser than 2.5. So what are the numbers which are greater than equal to 0 and less than 2.5? I have 0, I have 1, I have 2. So 3 possible values for which the answer choice for this question becomes choice C. Now, 2 questions in the chat pod that I can see. What does integral value mean? Integers are how do I explain this? So 1, 2, 3, all these are integral values, right? Any number that does not have a decimal counterpart, right, are integers. That they can be both positive or negative. BM tells me isn't 0 neither negative nor positive? Yes, absolutely, but it's a non-negative number, right? It's definitely not negative. If it's not negative, it's a non-negative number, correct? Yes, absolutely. Integral values is equal to integer? Yes. Integral values essentially mean integers, right? I hope that's clear to you, KR. Okay, so the answer for this question becomes choice C. Now, people who have marked choice B, I want you people to tell me in the chat pod, where did you go wrong? What was that area for which you made a mistake for this question? It's very, very important to understand your areas of mistakes. Other than that, you will not be able to work upon them. You were not considering 0. Okay, remove 0. Okay, what about others? What about others? Very quickly, I have 9 people who have marked choice B. So I know there are more people apart from Logan and Parv not considering 0. I guess BM has the same response. Oh, I knew it. So very important for this question. You must read the question properly. You must understand what are the constraints for this question. Other than that, even after spending that 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, it still get it incorrect. I don't want you to do that, right? I want you to get these questions correct, because these again are not that difficult, right? But yes, I want you to keep a note of all constraints that we have for this question, right? Okay, perfect. So let's move on to the next question, let me get you the poll for the second question. Here's the poll. Kindly mark are still solving. And the learning from this question is, please make sure you keep constraints in your mind. So 0 will be considered if question is non-positive. Yes, if it's non-positive, 0 would then be considered as well. Right? Perfect. Let's move on to question number 2. All the best for this one. All right. The last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Please mark the answer if you have not done it yet. 3, 2, and 1. Let me end the poll. And before broadcasting the results, before doing that, let's, okay. So all of you, read the question one more time. I want all of you to read the question one more time. And after you're done, please write a done in the comment, in the chat pod rather. Okay, I don't even have to tell you why choice A is incorrect, right? Right, because substantial number of people have marked choice A. I hope all of you who have marked choice A are now clear, right? So that is very good. So can you people predict the percentage of people marking choice A? Let's guess over here. What do you think is the accuracy on choice A? 15%. No, 70 is way too high. Sumesh, Pragyanshu, SK, Priyanshu, sorry. So that's way too high. No, so I'm going to broadcast the results. 27% of you have marked choice A as the answer. And I'm very sure you already know what was the mistake that you people had, right? So I don't have to go through that once more, I presume. If you have any question, to ask me that, if there's anything around that, right? So let's now move ahead to the next part. That is the solution for this question. I need to find out the minimum value of an integer x, right? So that's based on two inequalities that's given in my question. So let's walk them through. From the first inequality, this is something that we've already solved in the warm-up section. I know that it would give me x to be lesser than -2. I need to solve the second inequality. You take x to the right hand side, to the left hand side, 17 to the right hand side. You get x to be greater than equal to -5.5. So we are essentially looking at numbers which are greater than -5.5 or equal to -5.5 and lesser than 2. And I need to find the minimum number. Minimum means the one that is at the leftmost part. Now, which is the leftmost integer in my number line right now? It's -5, and that becomes the answer for this question. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. If there's any question, any doubt. Perfect. I want all of you to keep a note of the question statement. It's so very important, right? Right? And then these are again, parts of constraints, and then essentially a part of process skills, right? So let's move ahead with the third question. I'll give you the third question. Let me clear the answers from this poll, reopen the poll. Can you please mark still solved? All right, the last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. Perfect. Let me end the poll, and I will not broadcast the results right now because there's something very interesting again in this question, right? And I know it's going to be interesting for all of you as well, rather fun. Okay, so let's understand, and everyone, read the question just one more time. mark a done in the comment section after you're done with it. Read the question just one more time. Done, done, done. That is perfect. Okay, what do I need to calculate the values for? Z or Z square? What do I need to calculate the values for? Z square or Z? I have to calculate for Z square. Is Z square a perfect square? Is Z square a perfect square? Okay, if Z square is a perfect square, is Z square always non-negative? In that case, is Z square always non-negative? Yes, it is always non-negative because it's a perfect square, right? It can never ever be a negative number. The only probability that it's a negative number is when Z is Z is not a real number, and we do not work with imaginary numbers in GMAT, right? That's out of scope for GMAT. So Z is a real number, and Z square has to be equal to 0 or greater than 0. For which of these 5 options do you think would be eliminated right off the bat after reading the question? Which of these 5 options would be eliminated? Okay, I'm getting very, fragmented answers. Let's have all the answers together, please. You people tell me A, C, and E. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And do you people want to guess how many or what's the percentage, and what's the percentage accuracy for A? I should not even say accuracy, but yeah, how many percentage of people chose A? 30? Okay. Let's have some more numbers, please. 23%. That's very specific. Okay. More than 40? 50, 60. Perfect. Let's view the results. 47% of you have chosen, the 48% of you have chosen choice A as the answer. So tell me, do you understand? First of all, do you understand where you went wrong? And do you even have to solve the question, by the way, to eliminate choices A, C, or E? You don't have to. Very honestly, you don't have to do anything apart from reading the question for eliminating choices A, C, or E. Again, you missed out on the constraint part. I don't want you to make the same set of mistakes in the next set of questions as well, right? Okay, so that being said, let's clear the answers for this question. I will discuss the answer, discuss the solution for this one. I'll reopen the poll. Can you please mark us still solving? I have one more question around the same line. Just one more question around the same line. Perfect. Question number 4 on your screen. All the best for this one. All right, that is very good. I have the answers for this question. I would end the poll and discuss the answer to both these questions, right? And let me also broadcast the results for this one. 71% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice C. That is good. Let's move ahead and solve both these questions. Let's look at the first question. I had to find out the value of z squared. Now, before moving anything, what do you know about z squared? It's obviously greater than or equal to 0. It cannot be negative. It always has to be a non-negative number. That's number one. Okay, first of all, tell me, when is the product of two numbers a negative number? When is the product of two numbers a negative number? When one is positive, other is negative, right? Absolutely correct. Uh, can z square by plus 4 be negative at any point in time? Can z square plus 4 be negative at any point in time? Because I already know that z square is a positive or, a no, or equal to 0. It is not, right? Absolutely. So that essentially tells me that z square minus 2 has to be the negative number, yes or no? Z square minus 2 has to be the negative number, right? Perfect. So we're just going to solve that out. So z square minus 2 has to be negative. That tells you that z square needs to be less than 2. I also know that z square can never be negative. It's either equal to 0 or greater. So the only answer choice is 0 to 2 is the value where z square would lie. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. Clear? That is very good. Okay, then with this information, let's move ahead to the solution for the next question. What do we have in the next question? In the next question, we have to find out if z is an integer, how many values of z square satisfies the inequality. Now z is an integer, and I need to find out what all values can z square take between 0 and 2. So it can either be equal to 0 or be equal to 1. They are the only perfect squares from 0 and 2. And if I had to, let's say, tell you the values of z, they would be 0, minus 1, and plus 1, for which z square would be equal to either 0 or 1. So three values of z are there, but two values of z square, which makes choice C the answer for this question. Arushi, I hope you have the answer for your question as well. So please tell me if the solution for question number 3 and 4 is perfectly clear to all of you. If yes, I would move ahead to the next set of questions. That is very good. So, we had been learning a lot of constraints, and constraints are a part of process skills. And, in our course, we have specific process skill files to help you understand how to become better at applying these pointers while you solve questions. It's there for all modules in our Quantitude course, so should not be a problem at any point in time. Okay, if how many values of z was asked, then the answer would have been 3, right? Yes, Sumesh. In that case, the answer would have been 3, right? Okay, perfect. We did not do anything with z square plus 4 because, Logan, we knew that it's a positive number, and that's not going to affect my inequality at all. Right, Logan? I hope the answer for this question is clear, right? That's the reason we only took part with this, we only worked with the second part of the question. Clear? Perfect. That is very good. Okay, so as I told you, you need to learn process skills, and that's there in the course itself. You don't have to go anywhere else searching for them, right? So after the session, I'll be very happy if you go through that. Again, there would be infinite ifs and buts cases SK, right? Let's stick to the question that we have at hand, please. Okay, now we'd be starting off with the difficult set of questions. And for that, let me, let's use the same poll. Let me reopen the poll. close broadcasting the results, can you please mark as still solving? I have a very, very interesting question for all of you. Perfect. Let's go to the first 700 plus level question here on your screen. All the best for this one. Last 5 seconds to mark the answer for this question. If you have not marked it, please do so. 3, 2, and 1. Let me end the poll and broadcast the results. Okay. 39% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice E. 19% go with choice B. 16% go with choice C. And I want all of you to tell me, how was this question in the chat board? Was it difficult, time consuming, too much of calculations? All the above 3. It was easy, okay? I would not definitely consider this to be an easy question. Yes, it was actually time consuming because the question had a lot of, you had to calculate a few things from the question, right? And that's what made this question difficult. Trust me, people have taken almost around 5 minutes solving this question. That cannot be the case when you're solving the same set of question in your actual GMAT, where the stress level would be much, much higher. Chances of errors goes up, right? So in this question, let's first understand what do we need to find out. X and y are positive integers such that x plus 2y, so I have one inequality, I have another inequality. We need to find out what is the positive difference between the minimum possible value of x and minimum possible value of y. So once we need to find out the range of x, from that I need to get the value of the minimum value of x, then I need to find out the range of y, get the minimum value of y, and then calculate the positive difference between the two. So let's get started. I have two inequalities, right? Both of them have different signs. So the first thing that I need to do is turn both these inequalities in the same sign. So what I do is the first inequality, I keep the same sign. The second inequality, I take y to the other side, and I then multiply it with -1. So I get minus 3x minus y plus 30 to be greater than 0. Now I have both the inequalities in the same sign. Now, there's plus x minus 3x, and there's plus 2y minus y. To find out the value of x or y, I need to eliminate the other part, right? So what I do, let's first find out the value of y. And if I need to find out the value of y, I have a plus x minus 3x. I need to multiply the first inequality with 3. If I do that, I get plus 3x plus 6y minus 60 is greater than 0. And then I add this up with the second inequality, which is minus 3x minus y plus 30 is greater than 0. If I add that up, what do I get? I get 5y minus 30 is greater than 0, or y is greater than 6. Now, if y is greater than 6, the minimum integral value of y has to be equal to 7, right? That's what I have with me. I've found out the value of y. Now it's time to find out the value of x. Okay, now to find out the value of x, what do I have over here? I have plus 2y, I have minus y. So what do I need to do? I can do it in two ways. I can either add the equation and then get to the final answer. Should not be a problem, right? So I have y to be greater than 6. This is something that I already know of. Now, so what do? I add this inequality with the second inequality that I have over here, right? And if y is greater than 6, I have a plus y, I have a minus y, both of that cancels out each other. I have minus 3x, and I have plus 30 minus 6, which is plus 24. So minus 3x plus 24 is greater than 0, which tells me that x is less than 8. Now, if x is less than 8, what's the minimum possible value of x? It has to be a positive integer according to the question. So the minimum possible value of x, if x is less than 8, is equal to 1. At the end, I need to calculate the positive difference between these two numbers, which is 7 minus 1, and mark E as the final answer for this question. Please tell me if the solution is clear. If you have any questions, any problems around the same, That's also welcome. Let's get it cleared and move on to the first data sufficiency question that I brought for all of you. Please tell me if it's clear. Can I move ahead with the next question? All right. I did not understand how did we get the value of x. It's very simple, Arushi. We knew that the value of x has to be less than 8, right? We also know that x and y are positive integers. So what's the smallest positive integer? It's equal to 1. That's how we reach to the value of x. Is it now clear? I hope it is. Okay, so guys, please mark us still solving. Let me get you the first data sufficiency question for today's session. I have reopened the poll, guys. Please mark us still solving. Let's get to that very quickly. Let's not waste time over here, please. Okay, and now that we are moving to the data sufficiency questions, I would want you to, just take a note of the process once. The process is very simple, yet a lot of people make mistakes in it. Now, the first thing that you need to go through or you need to do after you read a data sufficiency question is do a thorough analysis of the question statement, not statement 1 or 2, but the question statement itself, right? That is something that you have to keep in mind, and you need to understand what do you want from the statements for which the answer would be sufficient. That's the second thing, and then only move into the first statement's analysis. If you get the answer from the first statement, if that's sufficient, I mean, you can eliminate choices B, C, or E. If not, you can eliminate choices A or D, and then completely forget about the first statement. Move on to the second statement and then eliminate answer choices in the same accordance. If you get to the answer, well and good. If you do not get to the answer even from statement 2, that's the time when you combine the solution for both these questions, both these statements, and then find out the final answer, right? I hope the solution is the process is clear to all of you. And with that, let's move on with the first data sufficiency question for today's session. All the best for this one. All right. We will solve the question in another 5 seconds. If you have not marked the answer, please do so. Three, two, and one. Let me end the poll and broadcast the results. Now, 35% of you tell me that the answer for this question is choice C. 13% of you go with choice B. And 23 with choice E. That's interesting. 23 with also choice A. Okay, that is very good. So let's first solve this question, understand what is the question asking of us. Now, the question is telling us that Z is an integer, okay, and mod of Z is less than 6, and then we are asked whether Z is positive or not, right? So mod of Z is less than 6. Now what does that tell me? If Z is an integer and mod of 6 is less than 6, mod of Z is less than 6, there are a total of 11 possible values that Z can take, which are from -5 to +5. Now how many of you did this and only then moved on to the first statement? If yes, mark a yes. If no, mark a no in the chat pod. It's very, very important for all of you to do the step. If you do not do it, it will become difficult, right? Okay, I see almost 90% of you have already done that. So that's really very, very good. For people who have not done that, again, the intent over here is to first draw everything that you can find out from the question stem, and only then move into the first statement, right? I hope the intent is clear to all of you. So let's now move on to the first statement and see what's the first statement telling us. The first statement tells me that Z minus 2 is greater than 3. Again, your friend is standing at Z, you are standing at point 2. The distance between you and your friend is greater than 3 units. So he's either standing at a coordinate of greater than 5 or lesser than -1. I hope this is clear to all of you, right? Z can both be positive and negative, because if Z is lesser than -1, it's negative. If it's greater than 5, it's positive, right? So that's important. Okay. Now that since Z can be positive and negative, the statement is not sufficient. Do you think that this inference is correct, or do you think it's not correct? Sahil tells me it's not correct. Okay. Let's not go into the details. Just tell me if it's correct or not correct. Okay. So it's varied answers. Some of you tell me it's correct. Some of you tell me it's not correct. It is actually not correct. Now, why is it not correct? Right? Why is it not correct? Z can be both positive and negative. Why is it not correct? From the question statement, I know that Z can only take values from -5 to +5, right? Z can only take values from -5 to +5. Now, if Z can take values only from -5 to +5, do I have any number which is greater than +5, which is greater than 5 and belongs to this range? Any number that's greater than 5 and belongs to the range? Not at all, right? So this case is gone out of the equation. We only have one case. Okay, do we have any number which is lesser than -1 and belongs to this range? Any number which is lesser than -1 and belongs to this range? Yes. What are they? They are -5, -4, -3, and -2. And all of these four numbers are negative in nature. So can we answer whether Z is positive or not? Yes, we can. We can answer that no, Z is not positive, Z is negative. So the first statement is a sufficient statement for this question. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you or not. And if not, what is the problem? Clear? That is very good. That's very good. Again, the intent over here is very simple. Draw all the inference and the information that you can from the question stem, then only move on to the first statement. Okay, let's move on to the second statement and see. The second statement tells us that mod of z is equal to 2. So I have two possible values of z. Z can either be plus 2 or minus 2. Now, is plus 2 in the range of minus 5 to plus 5? Is plus 2 there in the range of minus 5 to plus 5? Yes, it is. Is minus 2 also present in the range of minus 5 to plus 5? Yes, it is. So since both these numbers are present, I cannot definitely say whether z is positive or not, which makes the second statement an insufficient statement for my question. And since the first statement is sufficient, the second is not, the answer for this question is choice A, which only 23% of you have gotten correct. So, is the solution clear? Any doubts, any questions, any confusions around this? If there's anything, please ask me. Let's take 5 seconds. Can you please show the question again? Definitely. I will show the question. Why if the solution is in why if the solution is in why if the solution is in minus 5 to plus 5? Is it wrong? I'm not very sure of your question, Logan. Can you please word it out a bit more appropriately? I'm sorry, I could not understand the meaning. Okay, the question statement for you, Arushi. Please take a screenshot if you want to. Again, I would be sharing the session PDF, so should not be a problem. Don't worry. Right? I hope you have taken the screenshot. That is perfect. Okay, waiting for Logan's question, who's typing out. No worries. Let's take 5 seconds, please. And again, I hope all of you are noting down the learnings that you are getting from the session. They're so very important. And it's something that you learn once so that you don't make any more mistakes. In statement one, is it correct? It is correct because it's not between plus 5 and minus 5. Yes, Logan, correct. Right? So whatever the question stem gives you, the data, you have to take that data forward first for the analysis of statements 1 and 2. That's mandatory. But statement 2 is correct because it's not between them. No, statement 2 is not correct because I have both the values of z which is in the same range. So I cannot say for sure whether z is positive. If I take plus 2, yes, z is positive. If I take minus 2, no, z is not positive. So I get contradicting answers. That's the reason I cannot mark statement 2 sufficient. Is the reasoning clear to you? And if it's not, you can put that in the comments in the Q&A pod. I'll take it up. No worries. Right. So with that, let's move on to question number 3. Let me clear all the answers. Stop broadcasting results. Reopen the poll so that you people can mark are still solving. Let's get that very, very quickly. Okay, perfect. Question number 3 on your screen. All right. Um, 3 more seconds to mark the final answer. If you have not done it, please do so. 2, 1, and 0. Let me end the poll, broadcast the results. Now, 28% of you tell me it's either A or B. 31% go with D, only 10% with choice C. Very interesting. Okay, how would you rate this question, guys? Is it easy, medium, or difficult? Medium, tricky, says Samesh. Okay, what about others? Medium, medium, okay. Easy, okay. Interesting. Easy, okay. Choice B is tricky. Choice B, by that you mean, I guess, statement B is what you mean, right, Ronak? Okay, what do you think is the correct answer for this question? You've already marked so, but now that I've revealed the results, what do you think is the right answer for this question? A, D, D, A, okay. Now that's what makes this question so very interesting, right? Because the most of you are incorrect. The answer for this question is essentially choice C. And we'll talk about that right now. Now, I need to find out whether A is lesser than B or not. So it's a yes no question. Yes, A is lesser than B, or no, A is not lesser than B. Right? We cannot have contradictory answers that yes, A may be lesser than B, or something like that, right? Okay, so let's move on with the analysis. We do not have any more information that's given in the question stem, so cannot analyze any of that. Let's move on to the first statement directly. The first statement tells me that modulus of A minus B is equal to B minus A. Now, try to remember something very similar that we did in the warm-up questions. Can you choose which out of these three statements is correct? 3 is correct? Absolutely. Absolutely right, because in the left hand side I have a modulus symbol, and since I have a modulus in the left hand side, whatever I have in the right hand side needs to be either equal to 0 or greater than 0. So B minus A has to be greater than equal to 0. If B minus A is greater than equal to 0, there are two possibilities. Either A is equal to B or A is less than B. So can I answer for sure whether A is less than B or not? No, I cannot, because of this pointer over here. Right? A can be equal to B as well. So I cannot answer the question using the first statement, which makes the first statement an insufficient statement for this question. Right. Let's now, with this information, move into the second statement for this one. The second statement tells me that A by B is less than 1. Right? A by B is less than 1. Now, if I multiply both the sides of this inequality with B that is in the denominator, what do I have? I have A to be less than B. But there's one very simple constraint that I have. This will only hold true when B is a positive number, right? When B is a positive number, the sign of the inequality would not change. However, if B is not a positive number, the sign of the inequality would change. So depending upon the value of B, I would get whether A is lesser than or greater than B. Again, the second statement is also not sufficient because I do not know whether B is positive or negative. Now it's time to analyze both the statements together. From the first statement, we got that A is either equal to B or lesser than B. From the second statement, we got that A is either lesser than B or greater than B. Which is the common area? The common area is where A is lesser than B. Since A is lesser than B is covered in both cases, that will be the answer for this question, making choice C the correct answer choice for this one. Please tell me if the solution is clear to all of you, and now do you understand? Even if the question seems easy, it is actually not at all that easy. right? There are a lot of areas where you can falter, as we have mentioned here. For statement 2, if we take a by b less minus 1 lesser than, again, that is just complicating the calculations, Vinita. I don't want you to make it more complex. There's a much more simpler method, right? Just to multiply both sides with b. That would give you the answer. Should not be a problem. Why both commonly only considered? Why both common only considered? That's how we solve a DS question, right? When we do not get the answer from statement 1 or statement 2, we combine both the information and see if we have a common area, and only then move into the answer. I hope the solution is clear to all of you. Aditi has a question. I solved statement 1 with 2 cases, a minus b, b minus a. I would say this is fair but not actually true. I cannot have a minus b in the right hand side, in the left hand side, Aditi. That's not how we calculate absolute values, because they can be both negative or positive in nature, right? So that's point 1. Very, very similar as you have done in the second case. But again, if we are making 2 cases, that's essentially increasing. Yes, that's essentially increasing the load, right? And I don't want you to do it that way. Increase the solution time. Don't want you to do that way at all. Right, Aditi? Is that clear? Why do I not want you to solve it in that method? Okay, Arush has a question. In statement 2, we get a times b. Is b is negative? I'm not very sure if it's times over here. Arush, you meant greater than sign, I guess. If you meant a greater than sign, yes. If b is negative, only then, so if b is negative, the sign of the inequality would change. If b is not negative, the sign of the inequality would stay the same, right? Aditi, you did not get my point. Okay, so in your analysis, you're doing it in 2 ways, right? If you're doing it in 2 ways, that increases the solution time because you're making it more complex to think of. It's not an incorrect approach, but it is increasing the solution time, right? I don't want that to happen. That is the reason I want you to take care on and solve the questions in the most efficient manner. I hope that's you now have your answer. Is it required to get this level of question correct for 750? This is again, I would say it's not that difficult in nature. It's tricky, and that's the reason the accuracy for this question is significantly lower, right? So that is something that you have to take care of. And yes, it is very important to solve these kind of questions if you want to get to a very good, I would say, score. I hope that helps you, Manav. Right. Okay. So question. So that was, I would say, let's keep that as the last question, and let's now talk about the process of getting into that Q50 or higher zone. Now, in that process of getting to Q50, you have to take note of 3 very important things: A, concepts; B, process skills; and C, GMAT skills. Now, process skills is something that we talked about, right? Constraints, reading the question properly, keeping a note of everything. Otherwise, you'd make these small errors. GMAT skills is something that which tells you and teaches you how to solve difficult level questions. And all of these 3 things are so very important. And that's the reason we've covered all of these in our course as well. In each of the module that we solve in Quant 2.0 course at e-GMAT, you get process skills, you get GMAT skills, you get conceptual learning that makes your learning a wholesome experience. So the first takeaway that you need to have to score a Q50 or a Q51 is that you need to make sure that you learn the content that you have in a progressive manner, and you learn everything that's there under the table, under the umbrella, to make sure that you are good to go with each and every part of it. The second thing is the solution that we provide through Contour 2. Now, it's an adaptive course, as I told you, and since it's an adaptive course and students don't expend a lot of time going through this course, uh, we have the most number of reported successes in GMAT Club in the last few months, both in terms of number of 700 plus scores and in terms of Q50 scores, right? Because we know that each of you needs a unique solution, and if you don't get that unique solution, you might expend a lot more time that you essentially need to expend. For example, let's take the example of the algebra course. It has 84 learning activities, which is around 40 hours of content. And if you're a Q30 student, you definitely have to go through all these 84 activities. If you're a Q45 student, obviously you have some knowledge, and we don't want you to go through all activities. You only go through 35 of these 84 activities. If you're a Q49 student, if you're very strong, only 12 would do it for you. You don't have to go through anymore. So depending upon your ability, you need to, essentially put in the time, and then that will make sure that you don't expend a lot of time doing things that you already have done or have a proper idea of, right? So that's my second takeaway. Depending upon your ability, you need different courses, and the expert architecture does that for you. We have 2 sets of diagnostic quizzes. Basis that, the course tells you which all files to go through. So we have 7 modules, and each module has 5 learning parts. So essentially 78,000 courses that can be drawn out from this algebra course that we have at e-GMAT. And how do you know that you've excelled? You have evaluation and feedback at each and every point in time. And that's your third takeaway. Whenever you're doing something, please make sure that you are evaluated, that you understand if you are doing it in the right direction or not. Other than that, it would really become a problem, because you'll not be able to track only till the time you take your GMAT that you track that, man, I was not prepared at all. So that's something that we don't want students to go through, and that's the reason we keep on giving you feedback at each and every point in time. The expert architecture does that for all of you. And we have a lot of success stories over YouTube. People who talk about how did the expert architecture help them to reach their target scores, right? So your next steps, as far as algebra is considered, I would say, rather than that, the entire GMAT quant is considered, is if you're a quant 2.0 course, make sure you go through the quant 2.0 course. Make sure you follow the expert learning architecture. By that I mean, take the diagnostic quiz, understand if you're going in the right direction or not, and then do the files that's recommended in the course, and then specifically spend more time in process skills and GMAT skills files. That's the other very important piece that you have to keep in mind. And if you're a free trial user, you have the free trial files in the course itself. Go through the course, learn them out. I'm very, very sure that you'd gain a lot of knowledge after you're done with those files. And if there's anything else, write to us. And if you feel that the course architecture fits your need, you can consider purchasing it. That's totally on you, right? So that was about what we had in the session. And we're almost done with the session, so I would love to have some feedback. I would love to see some comments on how did you like the session and what did you learn, and how was the session for all of you, so that we take that comment and improve at any points, and that we consider that we take in the next coming future, right? And with that, I would also share the session PDF, so that you people have the solutions at your end at any point in time if you want to go through them. So I hope all of you can see the session PDF. Kindly download that at your end. About the session recording, you would get that after the session is done, in another 6 to 7 hours, I would say. You'd get that recording delivered to your personal email IDs through which you have registered for the session. And yeah, you can access the recording from that link. I am very happy to see so many good comments, and I hope that the session was really helpful for all of you, and helpful in understanding how to solve questions based out of algebra and GMAT quant more effectively with higher accuracy, right? If there's anything else, do write to us. We'll be very happy to help you out with that. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next set of sessions that we have. With that, I would wish all of you a very happy Christmas and a very happy New Year in advance. I hope and I wish you a very happy last 1.5 weeks that we have for December. And yeah, take care of yourself, enjoy with your friends and family, and keep learning great things and excel in your GMAT. Till the next time we meet, I would you know, till the next time we meet, just take care of yourself, and I would wish you a very happy learning to all of you. Right? Bye bye. Have a very good day or a very good night ahead. Bye bye.